Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. With your hosts, Jacob, Nick, and Ed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
Is up, everybody. Welcome in. It is episode 74 of the Barking Brown Show. I'm your host, Jacob at Roachism13, joined as always by my wonderful co-host below me, Mr. Nick Carnes at Carnesies817 on Twitter, and Mr. Eden Columbus over here to the side as well. Gentlemen, how are we doing on this fine Victory Tuesday?
Victory feels great. Wow. You know what? That streak was an 18-year streak of Mondays that you just came back from week one of the Browns. You're like, well, maybe we'll get them next week, but not this time. Not this time. And God, it felt good. We were there in person. For those who don't know, we were at Platform. Me and Jacob, I picked up Jacob. I picked up Roger. We did a lot of celebrating. There's a heck of a video. And to see that with so many of you was awesome. So I'm riding high. I'm excited. Now we got Brownie the Elf in the middle of the field. Life is good.
Brownie and the Elf in the middle of the field. I think we all saw that coming, though, for sure.
Yeah.
And the best thing about being 1-0 is you can be 2-0.
You need to go 2-0.
Yeah. 2-0.
I love that one. I love that one because for the longest time I didn't know the answer to that question. I was like people would say it, and I would be like, I don't know. The fact that it's not 0-1, like I didn't understand like the joke there, and it was just like a Victory Monday shirt. I just posted a link right there in the Twitch chat. If you're watching this on Twitch, click on that, get your damn Victory Monday shirt with Brownie the Elf from the amazing people over at Homage. We are decked out in our Homage gear as we are every week. The amazing people over there. I asked them if they make a Cade York shirt, and they said they just couldn't get it done in time, but it is pitched, and I will continue to pitch it.
I have a feeling before long there will be a lot of Cade York type stuff. It's just, it's the beginning of what should be a fruitful and long career. If the start indicates anything, right? I know it's just one game. I understand that, but it certainly is promising. So I think that's one of the biggest stories of week one.
The Browns have not made a kick of that length since the 80s. So the 58-yarder was the longest kick since, I think it was 84 was what I saw. It could have been 89, but it was a very long situation. Long kick, long situation. We're going to dive into all that. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. Obviously, the Homage thing, I posted it over there with Network 216 in there. If you're watching on YouTube or watching the replay, listening to the replay, it'll be in the episode description, either in the audio version or in YouTube, if that's where you're at on that format. But we've got all kinds of things to break down on this 1-0. The episode is 1-0, and it feels so good because we are finally there. And, we haven't been there. And Roger made a joke about Money Mitch and the last time the Browns won. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we are going to get into the offense, your defense, your special teams, and a brief peek ahead to the Jets here as we work our way through all of the adventures that it is. But I hear the theme song, I hear the music, and I think it's time for Breakhead News.
That's right. This is Eden Columbus with your Barking Browns Breakhead News. The Cleveland Browns finally won a road opener for the first time since 1994. Hell must be freezing over, and that sucks for me because I'm probably going to need to bring a winter jacket. Also from Sunday, Baker Mayfield, to his credit, successfully led a fourth quarter drive. Unfortunately for Baker, Cade York's long field goal made Mayfield come up short yet again. And finally, with clear eyes and a full heart, I bid adieu to my Barking Browns buddies, Nick and Jacob. This will be my last show as I look forward to spending more time with my family, the ones that have supported me unconditionally throughout. They are my main focus now, and I'm grateful to Nick and Jacob for every second of this fun ride. But enough of that. Let's have a kick-ass show like the Browns kicked ass in Carolina. This is Eden Columbus with your Barking Browns Breakhead News.
We only know how to do last anything's one way, and that is fucking full speed ahead, gentlemen. So
Let's go, guys.
let's make it one to remember. Okay. So we want to start offense, defense, special teams. Where you guys want to start?
That's a good question. I think special teams are the most delicious part. So maybe we save that for dessert.
Okay. Yeah, because there's really not a lot of bad things. I mean, the Demetric Felton punt returns maybe, but not really anything too awfully bad overall as a unit. So let's just begin with the offense. I mean, that's the one that's going to face the most scrutiny. I don't know. Maybe not. There's some scrutiny to go around, I think, for everybody, depending on enough to go around if we want to be, lean and technical about it. So let's start on the offensive side of the ball. I'll start with the PFF grades like we like to do every week. We start up to the top, talk about some of the highlights, some of the lowlights, some of the in-betweens. I wanted to point off. Okay, so Wyatt Teller is your number one graded player on offense at 85.9. 84 in the pass block, 80 in run block. It's usually the other way around. So it's kind of nice to see that because when Wyatt Teller struggles, it's usually in pass pro. So seeing it the other way is really nice. Nick Chubb with a 79, which I thought he was better than that. So there's some of these metrics I think from time to time that I'm like, but that's the thing. My favorite thing is right tackle James Hudson at number 2, 76 overall, 73 in pass block, 80 in run block. He had the one penalty for being an ineligible man downfield, and that was kind of one of those situations where he was just blocking his dude 7 yards down the field on a boot action to the opposite side, and it's just like, yeah, man, we know you're mean and nasty like Wyatt Teller next to you, but you don't need to be that mean and nasty on a play action pass to the other side. But I appreciate the effort.
I know we're going through the grades. I just want to say there's not many teams that could get to their third tackle and have that kind of performance like he did. Like we were sitting at platform and Jacob was like, "Oh no," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Jack Conklin and Chris Hubbard are out," and I was like, "Both."
Yeah.
And so for James Hudson, I mean, shout out to him.
I mean, go ahead.
I just super encouraging. I don't think many teams could do that.
I mean, you look at it, we had kind of this conversation a little bit about him, and we can start there. We'll highlight James Hudson a little bit because this is a conversation I had on Daily Dog Takes last night with Brad Ward, kind of talking, about this, that he had some struggles in the preseason too. So like that was kind of an interesting thing that it comes along here. But we've talked on this show before and stuff. I'm a pretty big James Hudson guy just because I think you had a guy that had like 11 or 12 career starts at tackle when he comes to Cleveland in the 4th round. And he had some good starts at tackle. A guy I was really high on, Azeez Ojulari, who's with the Giants now. He was an edge rusher for Georgia. He goes up against James Hudson in the, I think it was like the Sugar Bowl or whatever bowl game it was, and James Hudson gets ejected. After he gets ejected, Azeez Ojulari has 3 sacks after having nothing against James Hudson. And so, and to me, he was edge 1 in that draft class, Ojulari was. And so there were some things you were like, okay, that's pretty cool. I like that. And then he shows up with like a 90 grade or whatever it was against the Bengals at the end of last year when they rested everybody. And I understand that it was essentially a glorified preseason game for the Bengals. But anytime a tackle posts a 90 grade when he had games graded in the 40s earlier in the year, you got my attention. You got my attention for working your ass off and trying to, build on your craft. I thought his hand placement was so much dramatically improved. And he worked to keep people out of his body. Like he wasn't letting them in to move him or bull rush him and some things like that. And there were some spots where he did not, move them, but he locked up with them and the running back gets past them, or he keeps the guy out of the play, or he does just enough. And I highlighted some of those on Twitter. So there's a 3-play clip that I put on there as well. But when you look at a guy that was just routinely in the 30s and the 40s when he was playing, go out there and just show you, like, we can talk till we're blue in the face. And there's another player we'll talk about this in this same light. We can talk about it, somebody till we're blue in the face, that they have made changes to their game and they've made dramatic strides and they look better in camp, but you need to actually see it. And with James Hudson, he showed up, played out, and it, to me, somebody said this on Twitter today, I would consider sitting Jack Conklin no matter what this week, because I'm not too awfully afraid of that Jets offensive line. And I mean, it's risky to roll the dice and see if Hudson can do it again. But if you're confident Hudson can be at least as good as he was last week, then why risk Conklin? Like, why risk that when you know you've got the Steelers the week after? And I know TJ Watt won't be playing, but it's still a much better line.
92.3 had Joe Thomas on today, and they asked him about Hudson, and he said, Joe said that Hudson was his most improved player in camp, and that he could tell, like, a lot of the stuff that hampered him was mental. And so this last year of camp and coaching and film and all of that has helped him immensely, which is encouraging to me, because if you have a player that physically can do it and their problem is mental, I think that's far easier to fix. You can't make somebody grow taller, right? But you can help them mentally. And so I think that was a real credit to him that he played that well.
Hudson played well last year in the Pittsburgh game, I thought. The second.
I mean, a lot of those sacks were on the fact that the quarterback held onto the football.
Yeah, I thought he had a good game. So he's getting better. So it's nice to see the depth of the Cleveland Browns offensive line.
That offensive line was good.
I know I totally derailed the grades. I couldn't not talk about Hudson a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's a fair question. Jermaine Johnson is a rookie at shown to me absolutely nothing, and Carl Lawson's coming back from a massive injury. I'm not that afraid of either one of them compared to James Hudson's play this past week. If Jack Conklin is 100%, start him. But if he's anything less than 100%, I think Hudson can be good enough with help. Because at times, Kareem Hunt helped him. Jesse James helped him. They even went with 6 offensive linemen on, I think, like 11 snaps, and they had Michael Dunn over there helping him. So they can manufacture the exact same thing against those two, against Jermaine Johnson or Carl Lawson. Neither one of them is striking fear in my heart like Alonzo Highsmith does the week after it.
Got it. So I think I know we only got a few players through the grades. So
we can go through it. We don't have to really worry about the grades necessarily if we don't want to do it. If we've just got players we want to highlight, positions we want to talk about, let's do it.
Okay. I mean,
Anthony Schwartz catching balls. How about that?
Hey
now.
Almost like Jacob said, Anthony Schwartz could be just fine.
I mean, it's one of those things where I think sometimes we find ways to just rush to judgment on players like they can't improve. Like that's my thing. You can criticize players for their play, for what they're doing, but to damn the future, like I saw, like people wanted to throw him away, like this was who he was going to always be, right? A guy that was inconsistent in his ability to separate, a guy that was inconsistent in his ability to read his own defense and find a way to find somewhere that they could sit in the, in the zone, read the defense, beat a guy, catch the football, it was this thing that we kept getting told, like, this is who he is and this is who he's always going to be at 21 years of age, going on 22 years of age. And I was okay with the criticism of what he was doing, but the criticism of what he could never do anything when I had seen the strides. We had seen it. Yeah. We had heard it in camp. I had physically seen it. And to me, it was like, okay, get him somewhere where he can get his confidence in the rounds. He had an end around for 15 yards. That first one for 5 wasn't even bad either, because he he kind of shed a tackle and before he stepped out for 5 yards. And they started using him horizontally because they couldn't use him vertically because they had issues with his confidence. And then all of a sudden they're going to give him a couple of carries, and he gets some confidence. He's got 20 yards. He makes a massive 19-yard grab. That's 39 yards from wide receiver 4. If you can give me 39 yards, that is this type of stuff. I mean, you got everybody moving one direction to follow Nick Chubb, and he did one of those little pitch outs to Anthony Schwartz. And I mean, Bill Callahan even had Jacoby Brissett blocking in this motherfucker. So like we had all kinds of everything going on Sunday, but he moves it back. It was almost like Kevin Stefanski is a good play caller and he can figure out how to do things like that.
You know what? I want to credit Kevin Stefanski because I didn't know this, but I was listening to 92.3 today, and they said that Cade York was really struggling in warmups. And
he said it was his worst. Cade said it was his worst warm-up of his life.
Wow. So they were talking about that first field goal opportunity that Kevin Stefanski opted to go for it on 4th down. And they were basically saying, they were speculating that Kevin Stefanski wanted to give Cade some chip shots to help build his confidence. And I don't think that's too far-fetched when you consider that they also did the same thing with Anthony Schwartz. Give him some easy ones, build up some confidence. You got both of those guys. And I think that's a credit to Stefanski for helping too. That definitely, you know what? I think we could agree that kicker especially, and for Anthony Schwartz, confidence is like the number one thing. It's in your brain. And so when you give them those easy opportunities, I think that's a great coaching job by Stefanski.
And I think we talked about some of this stuff, and I'll let Ed kind of jump in with one of his standouts from the offensive side of the ball. We'll work our way back over to these comments as well. But we talked about that on how do the Browns figure this out, and it's just like get people to be confident in being good enough for now, and that's kind of where they were. Ed, what for you off the top of your head is something that isn't mentioned already on the offensive side of the ball. Where are you in terms of like something that, I don't know, just surprised you, just stood out?
You know what? It's not surprising. I mean, actually, he didn't play well, and on the podium, he says he can do better. But Jacoby Brissett, here's what I liked about Mr. Jacoby Brissett. He didn't lose the game, and that's what we were talking about all of last year. You know, he looked like he made the right reads. Now, there was a couple overthrows. There's one play, I think, that he had like with DPJ or something deep, or he could have thrown it to, whatever like that. But he didn't lose the game. It looked like he was making the right reads. He got comfortable. He made some nice slant throws, and I just felt like that's all we need with this Browns team for now, because I think it is building confidence with Schwartz. It is building confidence even with James Hudson and all these different positions that we need to do. And the one thing, Jacoby Brissett, being the consummate professional that he is, he'll figure it out. I mean, I'm glad he took it to heart on the podium and says that he's grateful for the opportunity to be a starter in the league again. I feel that he is. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a starter in the National Football League? But the fact that he didn't lose us the game, he had maybe one throw that could have been picked early on or whatever. But other than that, he settled the ship. We ran the football. I said on the Dog Chug over 200 yards. Browns had 217 total yards. That was the recipe for winning. And we're up by 9. What was it, 23 to 14? It got a little dicey at the end with Baker throwing that deep ball. But other than that, I mean, we were in control of the game, and that's what would have been so heartbreaking if we would have lost it, because we controlled it. You looked at the time of possession. You looked at everything that Cleveland Browns going into that had to do. You would say would have to do. They did it. And but the excitement of a Cade York 58-yard field goal, I think that's fun. That's what folklore is made out of. And great win for the Cleveland Browns moving forward. But Jacoby Brissett, hey, nothing to hold your head down. Can't wait to play the Jets. It's another opponent that I think that we should win this game at home. And I think that building forward in the season. I mean, we talked about the first 4 games, and it's shaping up to be the way. And if T.J. Watt's not playing in week 3, it could be really fun. So, Jacoby.
That starts to get really interesting.
You know what, too? Like Jacoby, you mentioned Jacoby, Ed. I would argue one of the biggest differences in the game is one quarterback turned the ball over and the other quarterback didn't. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Browns scored a touchdown off of that interception. They went on to drive and score a touchdown. And Jacoby protected the ball. How often do we say, the Browns were in so many close games, and this roster is good enough to where if Jacoby Brissett, he missed a lot of throws. And I think basically any analysis I've heard of the Browns say they should have blown them out, right? And that would have been amazing. But, okay, fine. Jacoby's not going to – he wasn't good enough to do that, but he was good enough to win the game. And that's what matters.
Well, and I'll also point out to everybody that's trying to talk about Baker, 65% of his passing yards were on 2 plays, and they were busted coverage, so I don't want to hear it. He did not play well at all. Anyway, do you realize that he graded out nearly identical to Jacoby Brissett? So let's let's put that out there. So I don't really want to hear that sort of thing. Anyway, my thing with Jacoby too is that game-winning drive, and I get it. There's that pass interference, or I'm sorry, the roughing the passer that some say was not roughing the passer, as well as the fake spike that looks on the all 22 like a fake spike, like looks like a penalty. It just depends on kind of on the angles and stuff like that. But in the end, you were put in a position where it was like, listen, for everything that you've grinded out, it's about to slip away. You need to make some big throws. Some big throws were made. There were some throws I thought throughout the day, and I thought deep, and I wrote this for Dog Pound Daily today, so you can go check that out if you would like. Donovan Peoples-Jones goes 3 for 3 on contested catches. I felt like it was 4 or 5 contested catches of his 6, but PFF ended up going 3 for 3 on that sort of thing, and it I don't know. It's one of those things where I did not think Brissett was. I wouldn't even call what he did good. I would call it fine. I thought he was fine, and I thought in that game you needed a quarterback to be fine. And finally we were in this game. Like how many times? You guys, we brought this up. Like average in half a dozen games last year wins the Browns 2 or 3 more games, and 18 of 34 for like $147. It's not.
It
was not great, yeah. But in a game in which I thought Jacoby was off timing wise. I thought there was a lot of, and some people talk about not getting reps in the preseason. That is historically how Kevin Stefanski goes about things, is not giving quarterbacks their starting quarterback reps until the final preseason game. And then even then, yeah, some things start slow. There was some awful quarterback play this week. By the way, the Dallas Cowboys, the only team not to score a touchdown in week 1. So enjoy that one.
Jacob, I see a comment up here. Super Surge MC. He was Baker without the game-crushing INT. But one thing Jacoby Brissett didn't do that Baker did do, what Baker always seems to do, he didn't take sacks. Baker takes a lot of sacks. And
he only had the one, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the difference between them. Yeah, 18 of 34 is not good, obviously, completion percentage-wise. But you know what? Don't get sacked. Baker seems to be, ever since his rookie year in 2018, moving forward, he takes a lot of sacks. And how
didn't Miles recover that damn fumble?
Oh, no. But you know what?
I'm sorry, and I'll let you go, Nick, but this is a thing that we've talked about that just, I don't understand it. It's got to be some kind of football gods like, you know what? Eat me. Because he fumbled the ball, 4 times? I know 3 for sure. And it reminds me of Kyler Murray fumbling it 4 times last year. And the Browns don't recover a single one. I cannot believe Miles doesn't recover that one. And in the end, it was still the sack. It was all these things. Baker gets 6 Super Surge MC talking about 6 balls batted down, including the first one. And I was like, oh, this is how we going. We going to be the Browns, they went in there and they did the exact same thing that Pittsburgh did to him in Monday night last year, which was, if you can't get to him, get up and bat it down, because that's what they did last year in Pittsburgh and all that stuff. Can we get a fumble? If a quarterback fumbles the ball, can we get the damn ball, please?
Right. You know what? I know we need to credit. So as we move through this, obviously we're going to get to the point where we credit the running backs and we talk about Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But I just want to say, from an overall game perspective, if you say you're a Panthers fan, it is like deja vu to what we went through as Browns fans last year. The gameplay, Baker makes a mistake, right? The opponent makes you pay for it. And yes, you get to the point where, yes, Baker got them in a field goal range. They take the lead. And so what would we have done if Baker, say for example, the roles were reversed and the Browns have the game that the Panthers did? We would have blamed the refs. We would have blamed the defense. We would have said Baker led them and got them the lead, and the defense let us down, and the refs and that terrible call in Cleveland, blah, 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 blah. And we didn't have to do that. We didn't have to do it. And I feel for some. They had a Panthers guy on that said that they were encouraged by what happened. I don't want to be in that position anymore. I just don't want to be in that position where you
encouraged by another loss.
No. No, I'm not doing Kansas City again or Pittsburgh again where Jarvis drops it. I'm tired of you know what? Nick Chubb said no more excuses. And you know what? They did not. They did not make the mistakes and they capitalized. Maybe, you know what? If you took any game and you said, I have a former number 1 overall quarterback on one side and I have a guy signed to be the backup on the others, you would pick the former number 1 overall quarterback's team every single time, just based off of that. And you would never know. You would never know based on the way those two quarterbacks played yesterday, who that there was this dramatic difference in the two quarterbacks. Because honestly, statistically, that they weren't terribly different. Because like Jacob pointed out, a lot of Baker's pass plays come on two passes. So that's my point. It's so nice not to be on that end, have to be like, oh, well, I'm really encouraged by, Baker threw a couple of bombs and that was cool. And yeah, they brought him back in the fourth quarter. So yeah, he made a mistake, but maybe next week we get him next week. No, we won.
That interception that he threw, like I remember the overthrow against the Lions last year. And it seemed like that one, for his shoulder to be right and everything, it seems like it's the same thing with Baker. The problem with Baker is always going to be his mechanics are so wild. He has a great arm. He does have great arm talent. But when he has to, everything about him has to be perfect otherwise it's an overthrow usually, where you got these quarterbacks out there like Josh Allen and all these, even Watson, that can just stand there and just use their arm and not have to do all these crazy herky-jerky kind of baseball pitcher kind of things. And that gets you in trouble in the NFL. And that's going to get Baker and probably more INTs later on in the season. And that's why I'm glad we don't have to deal with that and make excuses anymore.
Just thankful.
I didn't get through everything because there was just some stuff going on the last couple of days where I was trying to get through my rewatches of it and situation, but I was rewatching the first half today and he throws the interception on third down, but first and second down was nearly intercepted. Go back and watch that. He nearly throws an interception on 3 straight plays. And on the third play, he does throw an interception. Okay. And the one was because it was actually, I think the first 2 were tipped. And so it's in this situation where you're looking at like the Browns ran 74 plays and they ran freaking 50. Like, I mean, just look at all this stuff. And Super Surge talking about reading a stat that said if you take out the blown coverages, there was like 2.2 yards of play. Yeah, I mean, if you look at you go back and watch it, I mean, it felt like barring those 2 plays, I had like no issues with the defense. So let's talk about the running backs, right?
Yes, running backs.
Nick Chubb had the quietest 141-yard rushing game I have ever seen. Like, and I was equating this. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean it was this quiet game? So I looked at this and I tried to figure out kind of a really easy way to describe what I mean when I say it in that fashion. And it is that at the end of the day, if a running back does 141 yards, I know it ends up not having a touchdown or whatever, but does 141 yards and like 22 carries and things like that. And you tell an NFL fan that, you're like, wow, like that was a really good game. He must have been, hitting the holes. He was explosive, breaking tackles, cutbacks. Like, oh man, that's like, sounds really good. But when Nick Chubb does it, in the way he did it on Sunday, it was just like, yeah, that's Nick Chubb. It felt like he would get the ball and it would just be like, oh, there's 11 yards. Yep. Oh, he's stopped in the backfield. No, sorry, it's 4 yards. And it was like, it's so wild now that at the end of the day, you'll hear the stats and you're just like, yeah, okay. Yeah, Nick Chubb. Oh, he's up for FedEx Ground Player of the Week again. Yeah, okay, that's probably, yeah. It's just so wild to me that like Nick Chubb can have 141 yards and go back and just watch it. Just like watch Nick Chubb on Sunday, and it's just like he is really, really special, and we are incredibly spoiled and blessed to have him in Cleveland.
Yes, Jacob, think about this. If Nick Chubb on 10 plays, say 10 of the 22 carries, he'd get -1 yards, like a normal running back. Say it would be -1, so that's -10 yards. But he gets 4 yards out of it. Okay, so 4-yard game. That's a 50-yard difference right there because of just those extra yards that he gets from a -1 to a +4, just right there. And then you add the big runs that he does have. I mean, that's what separates Nick Chubb from the rest of these NFL running backs. And I don't know why he doesn't get the love that he deserves because, I know King Henry down in Tennessee, and there's some other ones that can do that as well. But not too many like Nick Chubb that can take a -1 and turn into a modest 4-yard gain. And it's not the sexiest play, but that's a 50-yard difference if we're talking about 10 rushes at the end of a ball game.
I know they don't play against the same people, but I mean, Nick Chubb was the best running back on the field between Christian, for all the love Christian McCaffrey gets, and I'm not slandering the guy, but Nick Chubb had the best game of them all.
Yeah.
And so for him to just be able to do that, and I think the Panthers did really start out saying, okay, we want to stop the run, kind of a similar script to what happens, and they just couldn't. I love games like that are so much fun because the Browns are one of the few teams in the NFL that, and I know it broke down towards the end of the year, but in general, right? Like we all forget that the Browns spent the majority of the year last year leading the league in rushing. They're just going to beat you. You're going to stack the box and they're going to beat you anyway. And it's so much fun to watch him play. I feel so lucky. And you know what? Did we really think Nick was going to do anything else after did you both see the hype video that Nick Chubb released?
Oh, yeah. You know what's really funny about Nick Chubb's hype video?
What's that?
At least I find it kind of funny. Is that he talks so little that I was not even sure it was him narrating it. I was like, because I don't think I really realize what he sounds like. So I know Baker Mayfield's voice, right? I know what he sounds like. I've heard him talk enough. Myles Garrett, all those guys. I know what they sound like, but with Nick Chubb, it's like I was like, is this? And so I went and looked, and every people were like, wow, when Nick Chubb finally speaks, I'm like, oh, okay, so it is him speaking. And like that to me is like the tellingness of a player truly not being outspoken and letting his actions do the talking. But that was truly special.
He literally takes that to another level when the actions do his talking. That's
really great actions too. It's like we're not messing around with this. I want to jump over here and thank MC Lawrence for subscribing for the 5th month in a row using Amazon Prime.
Thank you.
Listen, we're launching right on in. It's September, so you get 30% off of subs, gifted subs. If you want to, help some brothers out or sisters or whatever is going on in there, you can do that a little bit cheaper at a cheaper rate. But we've got, MC Lawrence does it with Prime. You can do it 1 free sub with Prime every month. There is a crown. If you put your cursor over on the video, you'll see a crown right down there in the bottom right-hand corner of Ed's screen right there. There's a little bit of a crown. You can click on that. It'll help you subscribe via Prime if you guys want to do that. You got Thursday Night Football's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, we know you're watching Thursday night. We know you're watching Browns Steelers on Thursday night. We know you have Prime. So you're here anyway. You could support us, and we will thank you, and we'll all enjoy Browns winning.
Yeah, it's no extra cost to you if you've already got Amazon Prime so you can watch the Browns and Steelers next week. Just subscribe here with 1 free subscription on the Prime and help us out and help the content creators here at Network 216.
No ads. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Got some all-22 film review to try to get up to the subscribers as well. Josh the Catholic was a little bit late, but he's in here, so he's having a good time. So we're glad
that's for Josh right here.
Roger finally made it.
Hi, Roger.
I don't know if you can hear me, Roger.
Roger, I don't know if you know this, but I injured my hamstring when picking you up in victory celebration. So I'm hobbling around. But
is that why you're so far away from the screen? Is you're in solidarity? You're imitating him.
I'm certainly. Yeah. You know what? I didn't plan it, but I'm gonna roll with it.
All right. So anyway, Kareem Hunt too. Let's talk about Kareem Hunt. The offensive line was just the offensive line. It's funny too because I think they get overlooked. Roger, I think they get overlooked just because we're so used to them being so fantastic. Kareem Hunt was just, I loved he lines up twice as the fullback, and that was where he lined up on the play. I pointed out to Nick, I'm like, dude, he's a fullback, and then they play action and he slips out of the backfield for that first touchdown. I'm like, oh my, it's stuff like this. It's stuff where you're finally seeing it because it's being executed. It wasn't executed last year. These plays, these creativities, the timing of these things, that's what makes Kevin Stefanski an exceptional play caller, which is what he is and which he was doing it last year. But you had players that were hurt and players that weren't seeing the field and players that were not able to execute what was given in front of them. And then on Sunday, for a majority of it, and Jacoby struggled because he missed like 3 touchdown throws. And I personally feel like he's going to get a lot better because I think that a lot of it was timing issues.
Okay.
Which you can fix with reps in practice and with reps in the game. So I think he will be better. How much better? Not much. He's not that much better than what you saw on the weekend, but I do like this weekend because he's just an average player. That is who he is.
Jacob, he's making the right reads. That's what everybody
Yes, he just wasn't.
It is a timing issue. But look, I would rather we can fix timing issues. But when Baker was throwing in the triple coverage or trying to do something crazy down the field, Jacoby's going down the field. It's the right read. He just missed them. Okay, but I would rather have a quarterback make the right reads, and we'll figure this thing out.
That's step one.
That's step one. Thank you.
Your roster is among the most talented in the NFL, and I think the defensive tackles, I know we'll get there, but my point is this roster was great last year, and they did not get to shine because largely in part because of turnovers, right? They just killed them so many different times. I know we can all think back to all of those situations. And you know what happened? Kobe didn't turn the ball over, and the roster shined, and they won the game. It's a beautiful thing, and I think they can do that against the Jets. 37-year-old Joe Flacco, that dude is going to beat Myles Garrett and Jadavion. I don't think so. I don't think Jacoby's going to.
Let me remind you what is facing Myles Garrett on Sunday. A third-string left tackle.
Oops. Hey. As we transition into the defense, Myles Garrett, with 2 more sacks, has the opportunity to become the Browns' all-time leader in front of his home crowd on the same day that Joe Thomas is being inducted into the Browns ring. I think it's the Ring of Honor that he's being inducted into. It's going to be it's the home opener. It's week 1. They unveiled Brownie the Elf. Joe Thomas is being recognized, and Myles Garrett could set the Browns sack record.
And I'm there.
What?
And I'm there.
And you're there. And I'm there. Michael Cozy's there. There's going to be a lot of people there.
Sam will be there. Sam came and joined us at Platform Brewery this weekend.
What a time.
All right, defense. I want to start here, and you guys can go anywhere you want to go. And that is Jordan Elliott, bravo. Because I said some really, I think, warranted but rude things about you. Like things like, you will not make this roster and you are a bum. Wow. So, and listen, one game does not undo all of that. One game does not make me go, woo, re-sign that guy. But I said this in the preseason, I saw some steps forward, some steps towards at bare minimum mediocrity, right? Like some steps towards being a, average NFL football player that was not a liability to your team. And I needed a guy that was, you went from a 3-tech, which you weren't good at, to a 1-tech, which you're good at. And I did not see this coming. He puts on 20 pounds of muscle and he can still freaking move, man. Like I put some clips up of him yesterday as well, just because whenever I am so happy when I'm low on a player and they prove me wrong, because it's always a good thing for the Browns. And with Jordan Elliott, I thought PFF was a little bit hard on him. I think he finishes in the 60s. They only credited him for 2 pressures, and I thought he had a couple of more. I also thought Myles had more than 6, which is still absurd because 6 is a really nice number. Right. But, there was a play that I thought was very indicative of what we need these defensive tackles to be. And we talk about space eaters, right? This is what Andrew Billings was supposed to be. He was supposed to eat space, be in the middle, and be this like big immovable object that caused our linebackers to stay clean and these running backs to try to have to bounce outside or stretch them or hesitate. And that allowed our, the talented athletic defensive ends and the explosive linebackers to get up there and get them. And there was this play that I thought was just perfect with what Jordan Elliott provided that I think he needs to be able to continue to do. And he's like here, right? And he's getting kind of driven, but he's not moving. He's still in the line of scrimmage. He's kind of getting turned over. And McCaffrey just bounces into him, like runs into him because I think he thought that the hole was going to develop and it never does. He bounces into him. Elliott doesn't make the play. He doesn't, tackle him. He kind of bounces into him, kind of spins off of him, and Myles Garrett takes him down. It's like a 1 yard gain, 0 yard gain, whatever it is. But that's what you need to do. That's what space eaters do. That's what one techs are. You're not going to get the flashy stats, but they're not going to get 15 yards. They're going to get 1. They're not going to get 8 yards. They're going to lose 1. They're not going to get these explosive gut busting runs up the middle when you do your job. And I'm not saying he was a Pro Bowler because he wasn't. But he did his job, and I didn't know he could do his job. Like, I just, that's where we thought, and he stepped up. At least he's 1 for 1. I'm going to very eagerly, like I usually watch Myles Garrett, and I probably still will watch Myles Garrett. We're not going to lie about that because when they're on defense, I'm watching 95 just to see what freaking happens, right? But I'm going to be flirting with watching 96, these next couple of weeks and seeing if he can continue to, do this and continue this run of being a decent football player after I thought he was a bad football player. So, I give props to Jordan Elliott this week because he was my surprise impact player. He showed up. Bravo, sir, and I hope to see you continue.
I would just like to build on that because I know it's 1 week, right? So you take that with a grain of salt, especially week 1. But everyone was really, really concerned about the run defense. Christian McCaffrey averaged 3.3 yards a carry. And that's not some bum coming off the street. That's Christian McCaffrey. And
he looked good, I thought, when he did. In terms of was he healthy? Was he Christian McCaffrey? I do think he looked like
Christian McCaffrey. I think that fumble up and he was gone. That was a great run from him.
That was so crazy, wasn't it?
But just in general, how many teams – Christian McCaffrey's final stat line looks good, and I'm not disparaging the guy, but how many teams legitimately make his yards per carry look that bad, right? I don't think many. And so I think it's a credit to the Brown. And you know what? We talked run defense all off season long. And so it's a hell of an encouraging start.
Yeah, he was a non-factor, like most of the game. He was a non-factor up until the end. We had done a nice job bottling him up, and I want to give a shout out to the Ohio State University's own Tommy Togiai. He played a little bit.
Had a good game.
Yeah, he had a good game as well. And I know what I liked about it. Not only the run defense, but just getting those hands up, batting those balls down.
Knowing your opponent, knowing that is something you can do to disrupt the passing game because he's 6 foot tall, and that's never going to change. And if he can't figure out how to adjust his arm angles, which he hasn't been able to do in 5 years, then we don't, then that's what's going to keep happening to him. Super Surge MC is coming up from Florida. That's awesome. He's going to be up here this weekend. Nice. Also talks about Anthony Walker. Anthony Walker had him a game too, didn't he? I thought around that defense, I thought Martin Emerson for his first game, I thought was physical. There was a few plays and he had the one pass interference. I thought with the pass interference, he kind of gets mad. He's like, and he pushes him away and he gets the penalty. And I was just like, that almost felt like he was getting his money's worth. He's like, well, I'm getting a flag anyway. I guess I'll just get a little shot in on him. And I'm like, let's tamper some of those situations. I wanted to kind of apologize a little bit to Grant Delpit. One of those blown coverages, the big one, that a lot of people blamed him on. According to Tyvis Powell in his breakdown, he believes that was Greg Newsome's responsibility and it was his blown coverage. It was between Newsome and JJ3, and it just looks like it's Grant Delpit because he's the one that's closest. But that wasn't his assignment. It looks like they were in cover 3, and so it should have been Greg Newsome. So I do apologize. That's why you rewatch the film. That's why we go back and we break this stuff down. That's why I try to rewatch the games before I talk to you guys on Tuesday. You'll get my instant reactions on the Daily Dog Takes on Monday. But I do adjust that where I kind of apologize because some of that wasn't on him that I thought was. But what I will point out is you're you had a couple of communication issues. If you don't have those communication issues, what is that game like? 23-14, 23-10, something in there somewhere around.
I don't know if they scored 2 touchdowns. I don't think they did.
I think they get one of them. The blown coverage, they don't get the Robbie Anderson one because that one was 100% the blown coverage. But I think like if I'm sitting here on a Tuesday after a game, which it's always great to say these things after a win, and oh my God, like I'm going to play a clip here in a moment, a couple of clips. I want to show the video of us at Platform Brewery and our reaction because I want to show that, and I also want to play something for people that haven't heard it, but I still just think about that. But if we're sitting here and we're talking and we're saying, hey, and that defense was great outside of a couple blown coverages. Oh, that's it? That's all you got for me? Okay, let's ride, baby.
Ed, I want to, because there's a player I'd like to talk about, but Ed, I wanted to ask you who stood out to you on defense.
Well, obviously Myles Garrett. When he slammed Baker, I think that was all of Cleveland collective. Well, besides the Baker bros.
I tell you what, JJ3 enjoyed his more than anything.
I was just about, he was the next guy. I was just about to say it seemed like a lot of the Browns players when they did sack Baker, they were a little bit more excited than they would have been if it was somebody else.
Oh yeah, it was personal.
It was a little bit personal, and that's fine. And I thought that even after the game, watching Baker and everything, and with Njoku kind of embracing him, and you saw Baker kind of, so I don't know, it was very, very awkward. A lot of that, even Stefanski, when asked after, did he say anything to Baker, and he's like, no. You would think that a coach and their quarterback would have, whether or not they got along, would have had some embrace. Even Belichick kind of goes up to people and I don't know, maybe says one word at least, but they said none. And that's fine. And the only thing that I'll say this, and I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this. So obviously there's this whole, Baker, Baker wars and things like that. I don't know. Here's the problem with that. Baker played like he usually does. And I thought watching Baker in the Panthers offense, it looked a lot like the Cleveland offense the past couple seasons. And that would be very frustrating if you're a Panthers fan, if you had to deal with what we had to deal with. But, you look at the stat line and they can say, well, he made a big throw and this and that. But, I mean, just getting you guys' reactions from that, I don't know if you're a Baker bro, does this kind of like settle anything or does it almost like, well, we almost beat you, or does this continue on? Or, I mean, it doesn't really matter anymore because we don't play them and he's in the NFC, and I get that. But at the same time, do you guys feel like it squashed any of this at all, or?
Go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, I saw a lot of what I saw from Baker in the last couple of years under Kevin Stefanski, where one half Baker looks pretty good, and the other half he just is asleep at the wheel, and you just wonder what is going on. And the Browns defense is a credit to them that they didn't give up more points, because when Baker does get hot, like he gets hot, we've seen it. 4 touchdown halves, whatever. But I mean, when you're just going 3 and out, like that is something I don't know. And it happened in the second half a lot last year, the run game, or 2 years ago. But this time it happened in the first half. And that's more Baker Mayfield for me. It's the most frustrating thing. I can't not understand why that dude, for half of a game, he's great. And then the other half, I don't know. I don't know what happens.
So you're saying the Twitter wars continue? Is that where we're at with that?
I genuinely, I think the more games that are played, the bigger the separation is, right? Okay. Because they got to worry about their own problems. And there was a guy that was giving me a lot of flack about how the Panthers were going to win, and so today I let him know that they did not. But I think moving forward, like I'm just going to leave Baker alone, man. I don't care anymore. I'm worried about the Browns and going 2-0, and that's where my focus is at. So good luck to Baker. Whatever. It would have been so much easier if the Browns didn't have to play them, but at least it did it week 1. You get it out of the way, and I feel like now we can kind of move on.
Yeah, and I felt the same way, but I also feel like watching him play and seeing that he is the same Baker, I understand that we don't like Deshaun Watson having to wait 11 games and then playing, and I get that. But knowing that, I don't know if Baker it's kind of like the Colt McCoy thing. Like, you get to a point where you see where his ceiling is, and it's like it's probably never going to advance any further than that. So I give kudos to the front office of the Browns for seeing that, recognizing that, and moving on. Because I do think he's an above-average quarterback in some spurts of the game, but the consistency with Baker has never been there, and that's his biggest problem. Exactly. It's the roller coaster, and
always
the ride.
I wanted to point out Josh's comment that we don't deserve you. To me, you're right. You're not in hell yet. So anyway, no, Josh is not going to hell. Let me make that clear. That's not what I meant. I just meant for everybody else. Anyway, I appreciate that. We appreciate the kind words.
Thank you.
Listen, I agree. Like, for me, I'm done. Not talking about it. I was already pretty done. You guys can attest to this. I didn't talk about it much on this show. I didn't talk about it much on Twitter. I'm completely done. He showed me again who he was, and I watched countless people make excuses afterwards, and boy, is that exhausting.
The defense, the refs, he's been there a month. The coaching, they're not utilizing him correctly. It's so nice not to hear any of it. You don't have to hear any of it.
Guys, sit back and enjoy the party that some of y'all missed at Platform Beer Company.
We are arm in arm.
And let's watch this. Let's watch this live reaction to Cade York's 58-yard field goal.
Oh.
There you are. There was our live reaction to Cade York's 58-yard field goal this Sunday, and I felt like I had just finished working out after I did all of that jumping.
We gathered up on the left. It's harder to see, but we gathered up in the left side there, and we were arm in arm, and we're just waiting. It felt like eternity.
Zach was with us, and he went from standing to just kneeling down, and he was like he was so nervous in those that 30-second build up that I locked arms with him, and some other people came around and locked arms, and he sat there and he was like, no, and he got down and he was just like, oh my goodness,
when you saw the kick and the ball come up and it kind of curved, I kind of thought that was a good thing, because I'm so used to kickers when they kick it and it looks like it's coming straight and then it will hook at the last minute. So when I saw him kind of put that hook on it, I'm like, this looks like a really, really professional kicker out here, the way that he handled that.
It did curve. Yeah,
it was
It was heading towards that right goalpost, man. Off of his foot. Off of his foot, it was headed for that right goalpost, and I was like, he is going to Cody Park doink it, isn't he? I was like, he's going to be a Cody Parkey. He's going to doink it off of this, and I'm going to have to just deal with this heartbreak again. But it goes up, and then I see it go, and I'm like, no.
That's that Louisiana draw that he had. Louisiana draw.
There it is. I know we're going to get into special teams and give Cade York all the flowers because he deserves them. I just want to say, I thought Sunday's game was a really good example, because there are so many people that say, oh, Jadeveon Clowney, he's not worth the money, and he's not making the impact, and he doesn't get the sacks. Well, when the Browns started against Baker and Jadeveon bats those balls, I think it takes a piece of the offense that they really game planned to do, and eliminates it. Because Jadeveon wasn't even getting near Baker, and he's still batting those balls. And I think that is a testament to him and the impact that he has. There are more ways to impact a game than sacks. And Jadeveon is the perfect example of that. And he does not get the respect he deserves because, he doesn't have the Myles Garrett and the great sack numbers. But I would argue he was equally as impactful. I think he was the third highest graded Browns defender. And, he and Myles, I think that's going to be – and I remember in 2020 when the Browns were winning a lot of games, a lot of them were on the backs of Myles Garrett strip sacks. I think Jadeveon and Myles are going to be the key to a lot of these victories. And so for the two of them to come out the way they did and both impact the game significantly but differently, right? Like, is a huge point of excitement for me. So I just want to give, because Jadeveon does not get the appreciation, and I'm sure I'll tweet about it as well, but he definitely deserves it. So it was so nice to see. I'm so glad he came back, right? Because we were nervous. I mean, he basically he didn't sign for so long, and
Nick? What was one of the reasons that he came back again?
Well, it wasn't the Carolina Panthers starting quarterback.
No, it was not.
It wasn't him.
Well,
It wasn't even our starter in week 1.
Well,
but it will be our starter.
So yeah. I just I just felt like it would be a disservice to Jadeveon if we did not mention it, because I really think that he disrupted the game plan the Panthers had coming out, because like I said, he wasn't even, what can you do if Jadeveon's not even near Baker and he's still batting balls, right? Yeah, how do you adjust to that? You have to adjust your play calling, and I think that really set them out of sync.
It's really a natural fit. Clowney rhymes with Brownie.
Clowney rhymes with
Brownie. So I wanted to give another shout out to Homage, who over the weekend we had this massive party up at Platform Brew Company. Make sure that you are checking out their Muni beer, because it's really, really good. The Muni Lot beer, it's very great. We were up there. Homage allowed us to give away 2 $50 gift cards for their amazing merch, and we have sent out the information to Homage so that the winners can receive those, and they can check out some really cool things like the shirts that we're wearing, or maybe even the Brownie Stiff Arm hoodie that they got going on over there.
If I'm not mistaken, did Mitch Metz not win the Browns tickets that Platform
he
was?
Did. Platform gave away 2 Browns tickets, and Mitch Metz was in person, and the man who wins everything continues to win everything.
Double M's, Mitch Metz.
Good for you, Mitch. Congratulations. Thank you. You know what? Mitch and Jacob both came up from Athens to make all of that happen, and I just want to say thank you. You know what? Network 216 showed up in a big way, and it was really cool, because honestly, it was like our first unofficial meetup, right? The Dog Chug was there too, and that was cool. And you know what? To have everyone there that we talk to and we all create shows with all the time and to see a win like that was it. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything more. I couldn't. So thank you to all of you, because I'm very blessed I drive 15 minutes down the road and I'm at Platform. Well, Jacob certainly does not drive 15 minutes down the road and get to Platform.
It'd be cool. I thought it was really funny, because I went instinctively when some things were happening. I went to tell you guys, and like most of you were there. So instead of like sending the message like in the group chat or text or whatever, you'd be like, oh, he's over there. I can walk right over there and just say it. And so, experiences like that are really, really awesome, really, really cool. And I'm thankful for this platform that we have and we'll continue to have. So guys, closing remarks as we wrap this thing up on our Victory Tuesday edition. We'll start with you, Nick, your final thoughts on week 1.
2 things. Number 1, I tweeted this out today. Kickers missed a combined 15 extra points and field goals in week 1 of NFL football. Cade York missed 0 of them. He was 6 for 6 between the two. That's an unbelievable rookie debut. I don't think you could have scripted a better, like when I was with Ed and he's making paper footballs and the welcome to Cade York part, I never could have seen it going to this way. So that was amazing. And you know what? We're at like the 59-minute mark, and I could just keep talking. Like I missed this, and honestly, I knew the show was going to help me to really get excited and put it in perspective. But I just want to say, there were videos everywhere Saturday night about Browns fans just packing up Charlotte, and that was so nice to see. After such an offseason that we've all been in, I think people were just so ready for real football, and to see so many Browns fans, and I can't even imagine what the Muni Lot and First Energy is going to be like next week. You guys are what make this fun, and all of us, we're all fans. You know what I'm saying? And that's, I feel like the people that you share it with is what makes being a Browns fan special. And so just to see everybody representing there, I'm headed to Miami this year. Like it's a special fan base, and they so deserve this 1-0. I know it's just one game, but people
Nick,
outside don't know. It's been 18 years. It's been 18 years. They don't know how much it means to just have week 1 go by and to just feel good about the Browns.
You have an opportunity on Sunday to go 2-0. Can either of you tell me the last time the Browns were 2-0?
1993. Damn.
I hate you guys. Anyway, I was 2 years old, guys. 2 years old. Ed, what do you got? Final thoughts, week 1.
Well, final show. I want to say thank you guys. It has been a thrill. I remember, the first time I was on here, I remember always just, commenting, and you guys, who is this crazy guy that's in Columbus? And this crazy guy got to be on one of the best shows, the premier show on Network 216. So I appreciate the heck out of you guys. But enough about me. We're going to be 2-0 after that. We beat the Jets, Jets. And actually in 1993, we started 3-0. So we got the Steelers coming that Thursday night short week. So once we take care of the Jets, we got the Steelers coming in. We're going to take care of them. So thrill of my life. Love you guys. And Barking Browns, only way to go is up. And that's what the Browns are doing as well.
It's been a lot of fun, Ed. I will never forget your debut when I have no idea how you have the energy that you do.
He came in just fucking firing.
It's been a hell of a ride, and I still don't know how to feel about that. But you know what? You are making choices that are better for your life, and so I can't do anything but respect that. So
thank you, sir. Thank you.
You said something to me last night that will always stick to me, and that was when we had this conversation. You said, I know it's the right thing to do because it's not what I want to do. And, and in that moment, I was, sometimes real life goes in a direction you didn't know that it was going to go. And we get to do this thing every week and have, fun and then stuff, you got to take care of your business. And I will never, ever fault someone for doing what they need to do and to figure things out. But, it's goodbye, but I'll see you later. And,
definitely. We bark together, guys. We always bark together. So let's not have a sad fest. You're going to make me cry here. Stop it.
I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for everything that we've built here, and I'm thankful for what is going to come next. And I think that is where we got to end, and that's where we got to go. And part of it is that I have to go pee. So, Mr. Nick, will you see us out?
I just want to thank you again, Jacob, because as we move forward, it's going to be me and you. And the whole reason all of this started is because you DM'd me one day, right? And so I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's going to be great. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here tonight. This has been episode 74 of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. Wow, I can't do that. He's Ed. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.